Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Dharma School service. I'd like to start service off with asking you to all please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Wow. So thanks to everyone for taking time out of their busy weekend to be here this morning, especially today on Mother's Day. Usually a very busy day in our household. This year for Mother's Day, Carol, her mom, and I went with our youngest daughter, Carrie, to a tea yesterday with Carrie's sorority. We had a lot of fun, but I just don't know why they cut those sandwiches so small. It doesn't make sense. I want more food. So how is everyone doing? Everyone doing good today? Yeah. Okay. It's been a while since I've spoken here in Sacramento, as it's been almost 5 years since Carol and I have been assigned to the Marysville Buddhist Church. While we thought we would be only up there a couple times a month, we find our time increasing with the needs of the aging Sangha. With the help of so many people, we keep the doors open every Sunday for services and try to come up with new and creative ideas to attract new people to the temple. Right now we have a whopping, you ready for it? 30 members. And it's a good group, and it's a group effort to keep things moving and moving forward. With that said, it is always good to be here on home court in Sacramento. Today is a day of celebration and of fun, so I'd like to keep today's talk a little on the less serious side for Mother's Day. Because if you know me or been around me, you know I have a little bit of an over-amplified sense of humor. And Mother's Day is no exception. Actually, I can't even really say the words Mother's Day anymore. For as long as I can remember, I have called it Muddah's Day. Muddah's Day. Can you say it? 1, 2, 3. Muddah's Day. Okay. So there's 2 reasons for this. First is a record, and I'll talk about this later for those of you who don't know what a record is. A record that I grew up with, and second was a TV show. So now I think many of you here remember what a vinyl record is, right? Yeah? Okay, we got a hand up. Right on. So growing up, do you remember, for some of us in the room, in the 70s and maybe 60s, do you remember 45s, the little records? Okay. So in our house, we had a collection of 45s, and we had a comedy record from 1963, and it was Alan Sherman's Hello Muddah, Hello Fada. Okay? Okay, good. I see some nods. It was a song about a young boy writing a letter home from camp. And he would start off by saying, hello Muddah, hello Fada. So I used to listen to this record over and over again. It used to drive my parents crazy. Then back in the 90s, our favorite show was Seinfeld. Everybody remember Seinfeld? Carol and I would watch religiously. And I think we've just about seen every episode either on TV or our DVD collection. Now one episode had the Seinfeld gang involved in betting on horse races. And prior to the big race, there was a concern about the horse that they bet on being able to run in the mud. Run in the mud. No worries, says Kramer, because the horse was a Muddah, able to run in the mud. Get it? But the line went something like this. He's a Muddah. His Muddah was a Muddah, and his Fada was a Muddah. So happy Muddah's Day to everyone. So here we are in the month of May, and I see that all through May, we celebrate and say thank you for a number of reasons. May brings us to Gotane next week and the celebration of the birth of our founder, Shinran Shonin. Now here in Sacramento, I know that you observe Gotane next Sunday, but in Marysville, we celebrated Gotane last Sunday and had a great time focusing on the life and teachings of Shinran, and we even sang him happy birthday. As we move through May, today is Mother's Day, a day we set aside to celebrate everything our mothers have done for us. All of you Dharma School students out there today, you should think of every day as Mother's Day because they do so much for you. Dads, not so much. But mothers, you'd better be extra nice to them today. Looking to the end of May, at the end of the month, as a nation, we take a moment to hit the pause button of our hectic lives and do something that is very Buddhistic. We observe Memorial Day, a day set aside to remember all of the people who have made sacrifices so that we are able to live our lives today. Here at the Sacramento Buddhist Church, we too take time to remember and reflect upon those who have impacted our lives. We start off Memorial Day just down the street at the Oddfellows Cemetery at the Japanese Issei Pioneer Memorial for an interfaith service. This service remembers the Japanese pioneers here in California, those who worked so hard, sacrificed so much, and if not for them, we would not be here today. And it's really a great reminder of the term Okage-sama. So today, in gratitude for Shinran, all of our mothers, and remembering all who have helped us on this path, I would like to talk about Okage-sama and our annual trip to Angel Island. So years ago, as Reverend Bob tells the story, he and Rinban Yukawa were sitting down talking story one day, sharing their own insight into Buddhism. Reverend Bob asked Yukawa Sensei what he thought the essence of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is. What is the essence of our Buddhist practice? After a moment or two, Sensei responded with a term that we have used and heard many times here in the Hondo. Sensei simply responded, the essence of Buddhism is the feeling of Okage-sama. The essence of Buddhism is the feeling of Okage-sama. Now, I've heard a couple different translations, and I will do my best to give a little Japanese lesson today, and I'm the last person that should be giving you a Japanese lesson. Okage-sama. So, O means honor or greatness. Kage means shadow or shade. And sama means person or people. So Okage-sama means to live in the great shade of many people. Because I live in the great shade of many people, I am able to be. Because I live in the shade of many people, I exist. Because of the efforts and sacrifices of others, we live this gift of life. Our lives are truly rooted in the lives of countless others, some who we know, and so many, many more who we will never know. And it's with this feeling that we have gratitude in our hearts to the people we think about during this time of year. Looking around this temple, it is easy to think about the Issei pioneers who faced so many hardships as they came to this country and gave so much of themselves so that we can be here today. So this upcoming Wednesday, this week Wednesday, Carol and I are fortunate to be able to take a few days off of work and go camping and backpacking to Angel Island with 3 of our best friends. And this is our 4th visit to Angel Island over the last few years, and the trip is always an adventure. We start off the day by loading everybody up in my truck, and sometimes we go by truck, sometimes by boat, sometimes bicycle, and obviously our feet with our backpacks. Now, once camp is set, we spend the next 2 days exploring the island, visiting the museums, the visitor center, and the historical immigration station that are all a part of the state park on Angel Island. The best things about this trip, though, is spending time with friends, looking at the bay and the city lights of San Francisco. We even do a little beach time, fishing and talking story. And last year, we caught and released a huge leopard shark, easily 5 feet, except when you look at the pictures, it was about 2 feet, that big. But trips like these are truly priceless as they allow us to reconnect with our friends and allow us to just be for a couple of short days. Now, a little history lesson about Angel Island. Angel Island is just 1 mile off the coast of Sausalito within San Francisco Bay. 2,000 years ago, coastal Indians began to visit, hunt, and fish off of Angel Island. More recently, the U.S. Army established an outpost on Angel Island to protect San Francisco Bay, and they designated the entire island as Fort McDowell. The Army deserted Angel Island, and the base was decommissioned and turned over to the state park system in 1963. Now, I think the real impact that Angel Island has had on us today is that it was the West Coast U.S. immigration station for all immigrants coming to the United States from Eastern Europe and Asia. If your family immigrated from Korea, China, Japan, or Eastern Europe, they no doubt had to travel through Angel Island to enter the United States. From the late 1890s through the end of 1940, over 1 million immigrants were processed through Angel Island. While the majority of these immigrants were processed through Angel Island relatively quickly, some of the immigrants, especially from China and Japan, were caught in political immigration reform, even back then. Some of the immigrants from Asia spent as long as 2 years living in the cramped and overcrowded dorms, being separated from family members, hearing strange languages, eating strange food, simply waiting for word that their immigration papers were approved and they were free to leave and start their life in the United States. Many of the detainees expressed their anxiety and despair by writing and carving poems on the wooden walls of their dorms. Some of the poems are so emotional, and during the tour you can clearly see the poems, the characters carved into the walls. When we made our way up to the second story of the immigration station on our last tour, we toured some of the large dorm rooms that slept up to 50 people. As we walked through a couple of these rooms, they had displays of what a suitcase from someone immigrating from China or Japan might look like. What was packed inside, I wonder? In looking at the small, maybe 2 by 3 foot suitcase, I thought, what would I take if I was in that situation? What would I pack? They had one suitcase that was packed from somebody from Japan, and you could see clearly neatly folded clothes, some personal items, and in a little box packed on the top were 3 very personal items. 2 little kokeshi dolls, maybe the size of a clothespin, and right on top of the kokeshi dolls was somebody's ojuzu. Somebody's ojuzu. Of all the things that someone could bring, being only able to bring what was so important and most important, they carefully packed and brought their ojuzu. They brought their religion. They brought Buddhism to the United States. Would I be standing here today? Would the Sacramento Buddhist Church even exist today? Would I have had the opportunity to hear and share the Dharma if not for people leaving their homes over 125 years ago with nothing but a suitcase? This is Okage-sama. Because I live in the great shade of many people, I am able to be here. Because I live in the shade of many people, I exist. And because of the efforts and sacrifices of others, we live this gift of life. Through the efforts of countless others, through their hardships, through their bravery and courage, through their desire to live a better life, they brought us here today. They brought the Dharma to us here today. How can we possibly say thank you to so many people? How do we show our heartfelt gratitude to those who came before us? How can we ever repay them for all that they have done? In reality, we can't. And I don't think they would want anything from us other than to simply put our hands together in gassho and with sincere hearts recite the Nembutsu. And remember that we did not come here today by our own efforts. And today, in May of 2017, a May full of days to remember our moms, Shinran, and all those who have come before us, we simply need to pause, take a moment to remember all of those who have made it possible for us to be here today. So with this thought of Okage-sama in your hearts today, in our hearts today, and with this short history lesson of Angel Island and the sacrifices of so many that they've made for us, take this feeling with you today and each and every day, and with sincere hearts, I'd like to ask you to all please join me in closing gassho. Because I live in the great shade of so many people, I am able to be. Because I live in the shade of many people, I exist. Because of the efforts and sacrifices of so many others, we live this gift of life. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Thank you all for being here today, and happy Muddah Day.